1.4 million people are urging the Boy Scouts of America to change its policy banning homosexuals. They signed a petition that was delivered in Irving today ahead of a meeting of Scout leaders this week to discuss the policy. Not everybody agrees with the potential change, though, including Governor Rick Perry, who spoke about it this weekend.
Scouting is about teaching a substantial amount of life lessons. Sexuality is not one of them. It never has been. It doesn't need to be. And I suggest that's the real issue that's going on here.
Joining us to talk about this are Jason Stanford and Jonathan Saenz. Jason is a Democratic consultant who helped elect more than 30 members of Congress. He writes a nationally syndicated column for the Austin American-Statesman and co-authored a biography of Rick Perry. Jonathan is the president of Texas Values, an organization promoting faith, family, and freedom in Texas. Jonathan, let's start with you. What should the Boy Scouts do?
Well, this is a very easy decision. I mean, the Boy Scouts have a 100-year legacy of being one of the most important organizations for young men and young leaders in our country. So it would be a shame to see the legacy of so many Eagle Scouts and former Scout members be tarnished by this decision, which is not necessary. You know, and it's concerning that you see now President Obama get involved in this decision. You know, over 69% of the Cub Scouts locally are involved at churches. So if they have, you know, if you have corporate America come in like they're doing, this is the CEO of AT&T has gotten involved. He's on the board of the Boy Scouts, trying to make his policies fit the Boy Scouts when it comes to the homosexuality issue. So you got corporate America really trying to buy off the Boy Scouts on this issue. They need to stand on timeless values, do what's right. And the 1.4 million, whatever the petition was, that's less than 10% even of the people in our own state. And so what's important here is for the Boy Scouts to not be bullied by the homosexual advocates and not be pushed around. And a recent poll showed that 52% of Americans polled on this said the Boy Scouts should keep their current policy.
Jason, should they just leave the sex out of the Boy Scouts?
I completely agree with Rick Perry on that front. Sexuality has no place in the Boy Scouts, which is why I think they should drop the ban on gays. I don't think there's anything right at all in America with banning gays. If we were talking about banning black people, people would be outraged. And the politics on this are changing rapidly. In the last 10 years, they've lost 20% of their members. They're losing six-figure donors by the week. AT&T is mad at them. Merck has stopped funding them. UPS has stopped funding them, and it's not because of any pressure from the gay lobby. It's because it is impolite in today's society to discriminate against gays and lesbians. Being open to everyone is the right thing to do in America. What the Boy Scouts are doing is wrong, but the Supreme Court has held that they have a right to be wrong. It's their decision on what to do now.
Jonathan, wouldn't the conservative position be on this is to let the local level decide what it wants to do?
Oh, well, that's a whole issue that doesn't even fit into this, because if the Boy Scouts do that and try to pass the decision on to the local groups, they're really just sidestepping this and punting the issue, because you know what's going to happen? The same homosexual advocates, AT&T, Merck, all these groups that are putting corporate pressure and trying to, you know, kill off the Boy Scouts by taking away money are going to do the same things locally. There are so many Boy Scout groups that meet at churches. They're going to be attacked. They're going to be intimidated. That's already come out. You even have atheist advocates saying, hey, you know what? If we can force the Boy Scouts to change on the homosexuality issue, the next issue is going to come up is faith. And so shame on Jason for bringing the race card. I mean, come on, look, as a Hispanic myself, I know something about discrimination in the state of Texas, and as far as my family's history as well in this state, we know something about that. And to compare the homosexuality issue to issues of race and ethnicity is offensive and insulting to me and to my family.
Jason, is that kind of an apples and oranges?
I think discrimination is offensive to everybody in America, and I think the gay and lesbian discrimination is what Jonathan's family faced decades ago. We've come a long way. And it would be deeply offensive in today's society to discriminate against people in Jonathan's family because of their last name and because of their skin color.
To compare the homosexuality issue to the race issue is something that people of color and ethnicities have denied, and they're not accepting of that, and I'm one of them. But this issue continues to be about a private organization standing for timeless values and not being pressured by corporate America. You know, the Boy Scouts need to stand firm and say they're not going to be bought.
The Boy Scouts, they are going to be making a decision later on this week. We're all going to find out what that is. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on. We appreciate it tonight.
Thank you.